Part 42. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 411. It must have been a failure at that time. Don't worry, it's nothing excessive, Asahina said. That's it. Hanamai looked at Oreki-san, and after Oreki nodded, she left with her school bag. As a result, Oreki was left with only Sunshine Senpai. And this senior, she approached Oreki-san with one step or two. This is not a good move. Because just now Oreki and Ichi-nose were walking out at the door of the dormitory, and Asahina's move was to force him back to the wall. And then smiled. Oreki. Don't be so nervous, Asahina said. I'm not here to raise an army to accuse you. During the forest exam, I didn't expect that result myself. I just hope you can knock down Yu's arrogance and make him restrain himself. Result: a miserable failure. If time could go over again, Asahina would definitely never say that again. Rather, Nagamo Masato had suffered several losses at the hands of Oreki, so her thoughts at the time were indeed too optimistic. So even though it was unintentionally triggered, it was definitely taught a lesson. This made her feel very complicated. Only. I came to see you this time, actually, it is related to the sail wave just now, she said. I guess she needs to collect 20 million points now and get through this difficulty. And Ya personally owes her 5 million points. If it is paid off, then she should be able to collect enough. Although he has already repaid 2 million, if he wants to pay it back in one go, he still has to wait until the 1st of next month, the senior said. And then there's the problem. When he learned that your first grade had taken an additional exam that required one of your classmates to drop out of school, he took the initiative to contact Fanbo. He misappropriated the class fee of our class and returned all the points to Fanbo, the senior said. As a classmate, I will definitely be concerned if my points are misappropriated. In other words, do you think there is something wrong with Nanyuan? Yes. Although Nanyuan was defeated in the forest school, his arrogance was indeed suppressed. He was even directly blacklisted by Horikita Manabu. They agreed not to involve anyone else, but Naun wanted to attack the girls' group. Asahina is a student in class of the 2nd grade, and the number of students in each class of the 2nd grade, as well as the evaluation scores of each class, ensure that even if Nagamo does not dominate the 2nd grade, then class of the 2nd grade it still retains its advantages. So the current situation is not the worst for her. But Nanyuan's behavior was strange. It is similar to deliberately embezzling public funds to pay off debts. So this kind of behavior is, to flatter Ichi-nose. After all, Nagamo had spread rumors to attack Ichi-nose, and according to his Enkoi Tayanaga's analysis, Nagamo wanted to heroically save Ichi-nose. In other words, it was a sign of interest in Ichi-nose. So is your current move an attempt to eat shit again? Oreki-san still admires Ichi-nose Hanamai. I think the other person can be a friend. Although Ichi-nose's closeness to him in the future convinced him that the opposite sex could not form a normal friendship, he would not just leave Nagamo alone and want to target Ichi-nose-san again. So if Nagamo wants to do something, there is no doubt about it. He will take action this time. So, what does Nanyun want to do? Oreki-san looked at Asahina senpai. Asahina came to him specifically with the intention of getting him to react. Otherwise, if you don't want him to do anything, why would you go out of your way to inform him? Then. Oreki-san listened carefully. Then heard it? I think he is taking revenge on you, the senior said. Jacob is very good, but he lacks in temperament. Although he is also very tolerant, you ruined his plan for this forest test. So he cannot accept it? This is true. The forest examination was almost related to the fact that Horikita Manabu was forced to change his will and choose Nagamo to be the candidate for the next president. So Naun definitely couldn't swallow this breath. So. Oreki-san continued to listen. And Asahina continued. So now that he is misappropriating public funds to solve Fanbo's urgent needs, he may take the opportunity to make demands. And based on what I know about him, he probably wants Fanbo to attack you. Oh. Wanting Fanbo to attack him. Are you trying to interfere in the first grade class struggle? You are very courageous, Nagamo-senpai. And Asahina-senpai continued. He wants to ask Ichi-nose to date you. I want to court you, Asahina said. Oh. That's it? This is what Nagamo thinks. I see. Is this what Nagamo thinks? P.S. Today's share update has arrived. Gwa. Chapter 169, Capture the students of Class D, Capture Yamauchi, and Principal Yucheng, also Alexander. Class A, First Grade. You seem to be confused about something. As I sat down, Oreki-san heard a cute girl's voice from the seat next to him. This is Sakayanagi Arisu. The little princess with short silver hair. Not only is she cute, she also has a nice voice. Oreki-san, on the other hand, has remained motionless since arriving in the classroom. This is indeed striking. Especially Itanyu-san, who usually likes to focus on him. I immediately realized that something wasn't right about him. Is it so obvious? Oreki-san closed his eyes and then opened them. It's really a bit troublesome. I've been reading a book lately. Profound. Oreki-san reads. Oreki-san likes reading. This was confirmed before going to forest school. If the books he read at the beginning were relatively targeted, then the books he read later were very casual. Sakayanagi often arranged for Kamuro-san to borrow books borrowed by Oreki Houtarou. After all, books are the ladder of human progress, and you can also start from here to understand his preferences and have a common language. However, since last month, there has been no trace of the books he read. From ordinary textbooks to quantum mechanics, I will even read ordinary journals or various experimental books. There is no pattern. It seemed that as long as it was a book, he would read it. After discovering this, Itaiji didn't let Kamuro continue to borrow books according to Oreki-san's borrowing records. So, which book are you having trouble with now? Banliu pretended to listen. And Oreki-san changed the story about Sunshine Senpai Asahina Asaji's speculation that Nagamo specially arranged for Ichi-nose to chase him, and told Itaiji. Of course, this was disguised as character development from a book he had read. It means that I can't understand the character development in it. In other words, you don't understand why Vilena acted, right? Arisu thought softly. She is a person who is good at attacking the mind. Indeed, the opponent who has always been on the opposite side suddenly asks a girl to attack the male protagonist. To ordinary people, isn't this just giving an assist to the male protagonist? And he still lets the woman he failed to pursue other men. If it's not something wrong with your brain, then is that possible? Banliu said, Vilena wants to take revenge on the hero, but he also wants to take revenge on the heroine. Because if a woman is arranged to pursue the male protagonist, the scene that will occur is to detonate the Shura field on the male protagonist's side. So, this is Vilena wanting to take revenge on the hero and heroine. What a nasty villain! Banliu curled his lips and said. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 412. This is her analysis. At the same time, I probably feel that this Vilena is very similar to Nagamo-senpai. She thought that kind of man was terrible. But Oreki-san understood. I understood why Nagamo would take the initiative to pay back Ichi-nose's points, and then arrange for Ichi-nose to attack him. Because Nanyun had suffered many losses at his hands, and then he was a little timid when he asked him to attack his side. Then he turned to attack Sakayanagi-san. Generally speaking, Nagamo probably thinks that he and Sakayanagi-san are more suitable. So Ichi-nose was arranged to intervene. So this is not revenge on the two of them, but only revenge on Sakayanagi Yuzu. He wanted to deliberately cause setbacks in Banlieu's love affair. After all, Xiao Banlieu took 10 million from him. Nan Yunya must be dissatisfied. In other words, this is a bad idea from Nagamo senpai. Then he is indeed a terrible person. However, Ichinos actually agreed. This surprised Oreki. Rather, he now feels that he and Ichinos are in a relationship of friends. In other words, even if you entrust the other party to shake hands every day, it is still the emotion of a friend. But the future friendship has already deteriorated. This is puzzling. When did it start to change? Was it you who caused this incident? Neun. So at this moment, Itayanagi-san didn't know anything. What did Oreki-san read yesterday? A light novel that is not very famous, Oreki-san said. Also, my mood has improved. Thank you, Banlieu-san. Oh. Itayaji felt that Oreki-san seemed to be deliberately changing the subject, but his energy seemed to have recovered. Then it probably isn't that important. Then because the teacher entered the classroom, Sakayanagi Yuzu began to sit obediently and prepare for class. Back table. Then Kamuro-san at the back table took out Itayaji's textbook from his drawer and handed it over. Sakayanaga's grades are very good and he doesn't need to review after class. Rather, I would go back to the dormitory with my textbooks at first. Then it seemed that after Kojima came back from the exam, she also learned from Oreki-san's flow, so recently she completed the acquisition of knowledge in class, and then indulged in catfishing after class. Then she lent half of the drawer to Oreki-san, and now, her own books occupy Kamuro-san's desk. This made Kamuro Maesumi very dissatisfied. Kamuro-san, Itayaru noticed Kamuro-san's condition. No, it's nothing. But it's a pity that Sakayanagi didn't give her the attention he paid to Oreki-san. So, today's class for class A began. Afternoon school time. Oreki-san has recovered from the state of mind disturbed by Asahina-senpai in the morning. Although it is not known whether Ichinos accepted Nagamo's mission, he knew it. He probably couldn't refuse. Rather, Kushida-san is right, he is the kind of person who is not very good at rejecting others. This is his weakness. And this weakness seems to be impossible to perfect for the time being. But I'll leave the rest to you. Oreki-san used Hashimoto-san and Kamuro-san. Arrange for the two of them to act. Both of them are people who are good at collecting intelligence and have made achievements in tracking. Oreki's instructions to them were very simple. They should pay attention to the new principal and Ayanokaji Kiyotaka from Class D during these few days. But just paying attention, no tracking is required. As expected, they were indeed members of the Banlieu faction. After receiving the order, the two immediately began to divide the work and set off. Are you ready to take action? Yuzu said. Oreki-san did not shy away from her in arranging Kamuro and Hashimoto. So she stayed aside. Rather, if Kamuro-san is separated, then she and Oreki-san will have dinner together tonight. Although they are still in school, they can still be regarded as a world of two. Certainly. As one of the representatives of Class A, she cannot be so superficial. What she is saying now is that Oreki-san has touched the core of this exam. Because of her status as the chairman's daughter, she can obtain more information. I know that the examiner of this time's class voting exam, Principal Tsukijo, is Mr. Ayanokaji. Then he related his father's business trip to school during the time when the class voted to drop out of school. In other words, during the exam period. Then Principal Yu Cheng probably has the highest position. So, you can confirm that you have obtained such permission. The core of this time's class voting test is not that no first-year students have dropped out of school. Then it is not about simulating in advance that the company's performance will decline in the future, and then it will have to lay off employees, and how to deal with it at that time. It was just Mr. Tsukijo's trick to drop Ayanokaji Kiyotaka out of school. But since it is a means, it must be dealt with in a targeted manner. That's why her Oreki-san arranged for the puppies to pay attention to Principal Tsukijo. I just think that Principal Tsukijo will contact the students of Class D and then induce them to withdraw Ayanokaji. I want to make a deal with Ayanokaji Kiyotaka, Oreki-san said. So we need to borrow the rules for this additional exam. Is it? Banlieue nodded slightly but did not interfere. Rather, if she interferes in Ayanokaji's affairs, she might be considered to be paying attention to Ayanokaji-san. Because of her physical discomfort, she had always stayed at home. Although she had a tutor, she had not seen many peers before coming to this school. When I was a child, my father took me to the White House, and I saw the child Ayanokaji through the glass. At that time, I had a quick glance and thought it was pitiful that these children had been locked up in facilities and trained desperately since childhood. But that was the thinking back then. And now? This Ayanokaji Kiyotaka also attended this high school. But she was still in love for the first time and didn't want to cause trouble. Therefore, paying attention to other boys in front of the person you like is undoubtedly a failure. She didn't want to lose any more points. You know, during the vacation, after sleeping in like that, Oreki-san was asked out by Horikita Suzune. She had to settle for the next best thing and not get his first date and first kiss. Then you can only get his first night. And now, he wants to trade with Ayanokaji Kiyotaka, so it probably has nothing to do with girls. Then there is no problem. So, after having dinner with Sakayanagi-san, who was in a good mood, Oreki-san sent her back to the dormitory. If you go to the dormitory of Horikita-san or Kuruzawa, you need to be careful. Take the stairs or something. But there is no need to come to Sakayanagi. He often comes to Sakayanagi to learn how to play chess during holidays, so the girls on this floor are used to seeing him here. But Oreki-san is not alone, he also brought a cat from Sakayanagi. This is a domestic cat with a round face that looks like a wash basin. Stay here for now. I'll take you for a walk later, Oreki-san said to his cat. Meow. Oreki-san's cat Hayate seemed to understand, so he jumped to the edge of the windowsill. Looks quite well behaved. However, Oreki thought that maybe he should change his name. Its name is obviously Hayate, but with its current weight and fat-looking figure, it is obvious that it cannot bear this name. Just get down to business now. Because he was staying in the dormitory, he sent a message to a specific person. Soon. The doorbell rang. Hello. The other person seemed elegant and polite. It was probably the first time I came to the boys' dormitory, so my cheeks were a little rosy with shame. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 413. At the same time, she was obviously wearing the same uniform as the other girls. But she looks quite cute. Grey knee-high stockings wrapped her plump legs. It is indeed very charming. This is a girl from Class C, Hiri Shiina. A cute girl with beautiful long silver hair and fair skin. Oreki-san came to see me, what's the matter? She smiled sweetly. Yes, I would like to ask your class about the handling of this additional exam, Oreki said. Oh, that's what you're asking about. That's it? I think so. Hiri-san recognized his identity. Rather, it was a quite new experience for her to be suddenly invited to the dormitory by a boy. Then on the way here, I had a fantasy about what a boy's dormitory would look like. Will it be cleaner than the girls' room? Also, it's a bit tricky for Oreki-san to find her at this point. Because this is after dinner, that is, the time when everyone talks about being full and thinking about lust. And I had asked her about her erotic dreams before. So, This time, he specifically asked her to come here. How could she refuse? After all, she is here to learn, and even if she bends her back for points, she still has her own perseverance and reserve. Result. There is no confusion in my heart now. So Shiina-san asked. What information do you want from me? Some people say that your class seems to have tacitly accepted Ryuuin's withdrawal from school, Oreki said. That's true. Hiri said. For this exam, our class requires class evaluation scores instead of evaluation scores, points but no points. Although we can gather more than 1 million, the points that are short of 20 million are still a drop in the bucket. And I don't think there's value in gathering together. So, for this kind of exam, I think it's best to drop someone out according to the rules. Of course, although the candidate for dropping out is Ryuuin by default, it is first of all to reassure everyone. After all, Ryuuin-san is hated by many people. So his existence should be a source of stability for everyone in this exam. In other words, Ryuuin was thrown out as a target. Whether you want to save him or not depends on the value of Long Yuan. But it's definitely not worth the 20 million. Oreki-san once again confirmed that Shiina-san has a cute appearance and is also aware of current affairs. But he is a very decisive person. And this act of being able to choose to eliminate others at will is like belonging to the chaos camp. And this is probably the reason why she was assigned to Class C. Then Oreki-san said, don't interfere with Class D in this exam. Oh. That's it? Hiri thought Oreki-san was here because of Ryuuin's affairs. The result is for this. Could it be that Oreki wants to take action on the class vote of Class D this time? Shiina-san said. Almost. Then Oreki-san said. Keep all the votes of appreciation from Class C for me. In the exam, all 4 classes participated, and each student in each class had 3 votes of appreciation, 3 votes of criticism, and an additional vote of appreciation for the foreign class. Then this is operational. And even if he is hated by the students in his own class and casts a large number of critical votes, he will soon fall to the last place. But if we can get enough votes of appreciation and criticism from foreign classes, maybe it will become safe. In other words, Oreki-san has someone in Class D who needs to be protected. So, is it Horikita Suzune? No, because Horikita-san is the student council president, rumors have already spread. No matter how stupid the students in Class D are, they have no reason to bully her. So is it that Kurosawa-san or that bad woman Sato who snatched her cell phone? Or is it some new girl that I haven't paid attention to? After all, the number of beautiful girls in Class D is a bit scary. Hiri-san is full of curiosity. Did he? Oreki, on the other hand, received a unanimous vote of appreciation from Shiina-san. In fact, this kind of appreciation vote can also be sold. If someone is voted out by the class, and then uses the appreciation vote from another class, it is very likely to offset the penalty of being expelled from the last place. For example, Tatsuka Yahiko from Class A tried to contact her last night, hoping to use 150,000 point to buy 40 appreciation votes from her class. Do the math, this is 5x 40 equal to million points. This is no small sum. But now, it must be Oreki-san's side that's important. Hiri-san understands the comparison between making a little money and making a lot of money in the future. Rather, it would be better to say that Tatsuka Yahiko wanted to buy their 40 appreciation votes. Wasn't it leaked in disguise? Wasn't he regarded as a sacrifice by Class A to drop out of school? Oreki-san is one of the representatives of Class A. She won't offend. Please read the information. So after getting the guarantee, Hiri-san became well behaved. Oreki also read the message. Was the reply given by Hashimoto. He was assigned to pay attention to Principal Yu Cheng. Then, while paying close attention from a distance, Traces of Principal Yu Cheng were discovered. The other party is in the shopping street. There are many shops in the shopping street, and this is a meal spot. Some students choose to cook in the cafeteria, but some students want to go to the shopping street to try something new. The school also gives preferential treatment to students, and some good types of shops will be introduced to the school, so even those who work hard can be appeased. Principal Yu Cheng also came into contact with a student from Class D, and the two had dinner together. But Principal Yu Cheng seemed very troubled. Does it look troubled? Oreki-san clicked on the photo that Hashimoto sent from a distance. In the photo, a middle-aged man with deep nasolabial folds and a male student sat opposite each other. The two of them were sitting in the sizzling steakhouse. Everyone seemed to be waiting for the waiter to prepare the steak and onions. Among them, this man with deep nasolabial tattoos is the new Principal Yu Cheng, and he is also the examiner of this first-year class voting exit exam. There was a smile on his face, but the smile seemed a little stiff and distressed. He held the knife in his left hand and couldn't put it down. Looking at the students of Class D in the photo, Oreki instantly understood why Tsukijo City was troubled. Because the student he was looking for was none other than Class D. It's Haruki Yamauchi. Chapter 170. Who is the unlucky guy in Class D? Ayanokaji, it's me. The students in the ABCD class in this school are specially selected. Judging from the school's arrangements and the quality of students, it is basically hoped that students from Class A or Class B will stand out. No matter Class A, which can maintain its advantage, or Class B, which breaks through the limits and rushes forward, they will not lose face to the school when they are launched to the society. The initial equipment for students in Class C and Class D is much worse than that of Class A. The most direct example is Hiyori-san. If the students in her class are most of the top students in Class A, then what kind of points can they earn? They must be for Class A. The reason why they didn't do this was because they were worried that the school would have another bunch of written exams, which they simply couldn't bear. Instead of giving up everything to rush forward and then be beaten down, it is better to accumulate everything that is needed to rush forward. And this is Class C. What about Class D? Aside from the poor configuration, Class D has some advantages over other classes. Because all students are selected and placed into classes after passing the same criteria. Generally speaking, if you are too bad to come to this school, the school will definitely consider it if you are selected. Take Takeru Syodo, for example, who has A and physical fitness. The genius Rokusuke Takaharaji who only cares about himself and refuses teamwork. Then Kushida-san was chosen because of his dark history. And Kuruzawa, who was almost bullied in the past, etc. Many are problem children. Yes. There are many problem children in Class D. After using the principal's authority to read the files of students in Class D of the first grade, Mr. Tsukisity discovered that this class was very different. And Tsukijo knew his mission, to force Ayanokaji Kiyotaka to drop out of school. Return to that adult. This time, the in-class voting to drop out exam is where it can be done. However, after reading the files, he discovered a bunch of problem children, and he avoided contact with these people. After all, although these people were assigned to Class D, they were not mentally ill. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 414. So if the operation is not good, something may go wrong. In this way, he chose stability. That is to choose someone who seems to be expelled from Class D of the first grade, and then give them advice. Click. Turn the opponent into your own pawn. Then he manipulated Ayanokaji Kiyotaka to become the dropout for Class D's exit exam this time. However, Principal Yu Cheng is so lucky. Because as soon as he selected, he picked a specific variety. How could I be kicked out of school? When I was in junior high school, I almost became a county-level table tennis player. I'm valuable, Yamauchi said. He originally passed by the steakhouse and was invited in by the uncle. He was then told that as a first-year student, he might be expelled from school. Ueshin. Tsuki City recalled the files he saw about Yamauchi. Before students enroll, they will have an interviewer's evaluation. The interviewer at the time commented on Yamauchi that there was a gap between his answers during the interview and the investigation report. After investigation, it was found that the student had a tendency to hope that others would value him, and that he did not have any outstanding achievements in sports or academic ability. However, society sometimes exaggerates and has some special effects, because we expect him to learn the ability to observe the atmosphere. The head teacher will also make follow-up evaluations. The evaluation given by the head teacher Sei Ichibashi was, "He has a habit of lying to faculty members, so I want to give him good guidance and aim to improve this." Therefore, what Yamauchi is saying about the advantages of table tennis is probably a lie. And this gave Yu Cheng a headache. He was the principal, and Chairman Sakayanagi was on a business trip, so he got the right to observe the camera. You can see the changes in each class after the teacher of each class announced the exam rules. Among them, Class D, under the leadership of Kojinji Rokisuke's elimination of useless persons, Haruki Yamauchi, who also quarreled with the gentle Hirata-kun, one of the representatives of Class D, is undoubtedly the most dangerous. Moreover, judging from the way Yamauchi talks in class, he doesn't seem to be very popular. So, Yamauchi-san, do you know? If he doesn't intervene, then you will be the first to be kicked out of school. As a result, you have no idea at all, do you even think you are super safe? From the beginning, Tsukijo wanted to find the person in Class D who would be expelled, and then teach him to fight back, and finally stabbed Ayanokaji Kiyotaka in the back. Result: waste is easy to use, but too much waste can be a bit stressful. Although you can be excellent, not everyone can treat others calmly, Principal Yu Cheng said. For example, people who are jealous of others will not evaluate others fairly. So, is it possible that your class's exit exam will be handled not based on contribution or value to the class, but based on preference alone? Yu Cheng said patiently, trying hard. Is the class so scary? Yamauchi said. Of course. Because through the camera, after Chibashira, the homeroom teacher of Class D, announced the withdrawal exam, some students had already formed a team with each other. The school's cameras are quite clear, and it can be seen that some students' screens have already appeared. Why don't you drop out of school, Yamauchi? Although I don't like Chi either, Yamauchi is more annoying. Such words. So, Yamauchi-san, you're already on a hate list. It was only after noticing this that Yu Cheng took action. Result: feeling the pressure now. And the other side. Boys' dormitory. Oreki-san looked at his phone, perhaps worried about alerting someone from a distance, so Hashimoto-san just took a photo and reported it. As a person who is good at gathering intelligence, his mobile phone spent some points to apply to the class teacher to eliminate the sound and flash of taking pictures, so it seemed to be quite safe. But if he leaned closer, he instinctively felt something was not good. Don't act rashly yet. Oreki-san sent a message to Hashimoto, there is no need to continue following me. You can rest after that. Clear. However, Oreki-san and the people from the Katsuragi faction seem to have rejected the idea of them all pooling together 20 million points by Hashimoto. There are currently only 7 members of the Katsuragi faction including Katsuragi. But the number of 7 people is actually not very accurate. Because when they entered school, the Itayanagi and Katsuragi factions infiltrated each other, and then they were even little spies who were infiltrated into the other camp. Therefore, among the 7 members of the Katsuragi faction, there must be someone from the Itayanagi faction. To prevent Yahiko from dropping out, he needs to pay 20 million points. Divided equally, one person has to pay 3 million points. As a member of the Banlieu sect, who is willing to give this value? Not to mention, they don't actually have so many points now. And Katsuragi is still thinking about raising money. Points can be obtained from the class or from people who have points. There could be someone like Oreki-san who is a money withdrawal monster, and then there is also someone else. Majima, the homeroom teacher of Class A. As a homeroom teacher, Mr. Majima is well paid. Consider whether I can borrow money from the teacher. But there will also be pressure on repayment, and if the points are used to save Yahiko, will it mean that he wants to go to war with Oreki and Sakayanagi? So Katsuragi-san is also very troubled now. But Yahiko-san calmed down. He began to try to save himself. I contacted the people in Class C and seemed to want to buy 40 appreciation votes from Class C. Yes. If he gets 40 votes of appreciation, then even if his classmates vote for him, he will only get 39 votes of criticism at most, not to mention that people from the Katsuragi faction will not vote for him. So he becomes safe. But if this is the case, then it will disrupt the plans of Oreki-san and Itaiji-san, because if someone intervenes with the votes, and according to the rules of the exam, everyone must fill in 3 people's criticism votes and appreciation votes, then there will definitely be the last 3 were like this. So if Yahiko's last place is cancelled out, then the last second place will definitely be dropped. What will happen next? Will the Katsuragi faction directly start a war with the Oreki and Itayanagi factions? This can have huge consequences for class unity. Then there is pressure on whether Class A's status is still so strong. Because both Oreki-san and Sakayanagi-Yuzu had points to jump to other classes. Therefore, it is possible that he will run to Class B and then pass through Class B to catch up with Class A and massacre Class A. So I knew that this proposal would not be approved by Katsuragi. So Yahiko could only act privately. It seems Katsuragi is relatively safe, Oreki-san said. Then the communication with Hashimoto ended. Then I found a person's account and sent a message to the other person. Hiyori-san is still staying in his dormitory. But Oreki-san asked for votes of appreciation from her class, so he didn't take any precautions against her. So she identified the person Oreki-san sent the message to. Ah, it's Ayanokaji-san. However, Hiyori-san contributed a piece of news. Ayanokaji-san from Class D sometimes searches for books that Oreki-san has read. I was a little curious and remembered it. Oh. Is that so? Is such that? Because Hiyori herself also searches for the books that Oreki-san has read. Then borrow it? Because if they don't read the same books, how can they share a common language? So even though she became a dog, Hiyori-san still regards Oreki-san as a book friend. That's why when searching, I discovered that after Oreki-san borrowed it, Itaiji-san also borrowed it, and then Ayanokaji-san also borrowed similar books. Therefore, she discovered that Itayanagi-san had been reading the books that Oreki-san had read, so she took the position of Sakayanagi x Oreki. Because, no matter how you look at it, Sakayanagi-san is more attentive here. And the other side. Another boy returned to the dormitory. The other person was lying on the bed, but his phone vibrated. A message was received. A number he had never seen before. However, what the other party sent was a message. An unlucky guy will appear in Class D. P.S. One more update, I still owe 46 more updates. PA book by a big guy. Introduction, Caruso, the villain of the mobile game Endgame, is a combination of handsome, strong and miserable. When netizens watched the Jinyan anime, they discovered that they could interact with Caruso during the Shota period. They shamefully surrendered to the enemy and began the journey of developing a villain boy. Caruso, is this a priest's card? Why does it look so like a thief's card? Netizen, don't make trouble, the thief's card is not that dirty. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 415. Caruso, is it really okay if I don't have any minions in my deck? Netizen, aren't the enemy's followers yours? Caruso, who has a hardcore fighting style, is gradually being misled by netizens. Well played. Thank you. Chapter 171. The first year Class D who fights back, Horikita Suzune, is the best tool player. An unlucky guy will appear in Class D. Ayanokaji Kiyotaka checked this sudden message. The other party is a number that he has no notes on. This is natural. After he came to this school, he didn't deliberately make friends or come into contact with anyone in particular. Therefore, the address book on the mobile phone probably only contains the number of Mr. Chibashira that every student has noted. But his memory is very strong. He quickly realized that the number that sent the message seemed to have been seen somewhere. And this does not hide the information, but directly displays the number. In other words, did the other party deliberately let him identify the other party? It seems that the students that Kyusei High School needs to train are not trained in the direction of integrity and justice, but rather they hope to train people who can adapt to society smoothly. So you can find from the student union that some anonymous trumpets are released every week. It is convenient for students to do all kinds of not so bright things. At the same time, you can also spend points to apply to the class teacher or school to hide your information. For example, after returning from the forest school exam, he received a call from an unknown number that suddenly appeared and then just played his name. And now this message appears. In other words, enemies from outside the school began to attack. At the same time, that is, what someone might want him to do. And the other side. Because some arrangements still needed to be made, Oreki-san asked Shiina-san to go back. Principal Tsukijo came into contact with Haruki Yamauchi. This is not a casual contact, but to confirm the candidates in Class D who will vote to drop out of school this time, and then contact them. He provided help in times of need and turned the mountain into his own chess piece. But Yu Cheng is not very good at picking chess pieces. When the students from Class A invaded Class D in the second month, I felt troubled because there were some people you wanted to use as insiders, but they couldn't even understand the tasks they were given. And Yamauchi falls into that category. So Mr. Tsukijo is probably in a lot of pain right now. But Oreki wanted to go further. Judging from the exam rewards, the requirement of the exam is to select the first and last place. The last one drops out, but the first one can get protection worth 20 million from the penalty of dropping out. The origin of the first place is the final score of appreciation votes, criticism votes. So if it's not a popularity master, then it's the same person who represents each class. Even if you have achieved the position of representative, do you still need this kind of reward that exempts you from dropping out of school? And can the school directly issue 4 reward places to exempt students from dropping out? It means that there must be a new exam that will deprive 4 of the reward places for exemption from dropping out of school at once. So this time Mr. Tsukijo might just come to say hello. In other words, Mr. Tsukijo is not confident that Ayanokaji Kiyotaka will be able to drop out of school this time. But if used properly, it can directly become the occasion to drive Ayanokaji. In this way, then you also need to master Class B's vote of appreciation. So Oreki-san promptly made an appointment with Hanamai. In other words, I want 40 votes of appreciation from our class. Is Oreki-san in danger? Hanamai said. Then he held Oreki-san's left hand. Looked over with worried eyes. Her eyes are quite beautiful. It should be said that he is worthy of being an archangel. When Oreki-san asked for the ticket, he immediately realized that wanting to get the ticket was a sign that the other party was in trouble. Because getting enough appreciation votes from outside the class can offset the negative criticism votes from within the class. But in fact, he was a little stressed. I learned from Sunshine Senior Asahina that Hanamai got the points that Nagamo owed, but Nagamo's request was to let Hanami attack him. And this is not a good plan, Fanbo. As a friend, I don't want you to go astray. After Oreki-san entered the school, he received the attention of many archangels, and it was also confirmed that Kushida-san was a false angel, and although Hanami had stains here, it was undeniable that this was more real. Because this is what people are. No one is perfect. Just because an angel has become a human being, it doesn't mean that he must taint the angel. The situation in my class is pretty stable, Oreki-san said. We have decided who will drop out of school, but the people we know are more dangerous, so we need to protect them with appreciation votes. That's it? Ichi-nose nodded. Then wait a minute, she said. Then I made a few phone calls in front of Oreki-san, and then at my classmates in the class group on my phone. 5 minutes later, I got the votes of appreciation from the whole class for the foreign class. Class B is different from Class A, it seems much gentler. And like Ichi-nose, although she is the representative of Class B, she does not use brute strength, nor does she use force like Class A. If you follow me, Class A will be safe and everyone will graduate from Class A together. The power of leadership. She uses affinity. Everyone recognizes her. Such a class is a very united class in the outside world, but in Yuchin High School, it is easy to get beaten. But these kind little angels, if they stay in school before graduation and do not turn black, so it can be regarded as gaining a fortune, and you can have the experience to deal with it when you are cheated or bullied by others in the future. Let me ask you a question, Oreki-san said, since your class has chosen to spend 20 million points to pass this exam. So what is the composition of this 20 million points, Oreki-san said. His account is full of points. But he was not willing to spend 20 million on this kind of exam. After all, his points can bypass the rule that they can only be purchased by the school after graduating from the 3rd grade. Instead, he can apply to the school to exchange them for cash at any time. The same goes for Ichi-nose. If she entrusts him with the entrustment, he can help her apply to the school to convert the points into cash in advance. This dash. Everyone didn't spend the points during the preferential treatment test, and then kept them in the class fee. So there are 9 million points, and then there is also the usual shift fee, and then plus the points I got from Nagamo-senpai. Enough. This is not enough. Because the points you got from Nanyun are 5 million, which is a quarter of 20 million. And this 5 million is Nanyun's mental damages to you. In other words, this is your money. In the end, are you willing to pay so much? That's right. He obviously stayed, but he still tried his best for the class. Hanami Ichi-nose is indeed a genuine angel. During her previous rumor incident, the students in her class were also working hard to accumulate points by stripping themselves naked. So it's probably not about how many points they have in their hands, but if they can save the classmates in the class, then they are all willing. What an incredible class. If he hadn't been assigned to class at the beginning, Oreki-san would actually like this atmosphere. But in this case, problems also arise, and Fanbo has no money again. Then give her a sales pitch to fool the incoming freshman? But let's let Shiina-san do that kind of thing. Ichino-san is not suitable for bullying others, and Oreki-san also hopes that she can continue to be an archangel. So he would return home later and head to the area near Ichino's house. Let's continue to trick Ichino's sister into buying lottery tickets. And the other side. Akiu. Hiri suddenly felt a little cold. Shiina-san, do you have a cold? A classmate looked at her. Ah, no. Speaking of which dash. Hiri-san quickly started doing the work of the girls in her class. She has no friends among the students in the class, but it does not mean that her communication skills are poor. Rather, she can actually talk to the whole class. And if there are no accidents in this exam, then Ryuan-kun will be expelled from school. Basically, there is no need to issue instructions, so there are about 20 students who will vote for Long Yuan. Class C, 1st grade, very safe. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yet. Chapter 416. So, the time came for the third day when the additional exam was announced. Ayanokaji Kiyotaka arrived at the classroom. This was the third day since the class teacher, Chibashira-sensei, announced that the class had voted to drop out of the exam. For 3 days, he witnessed the chaos among the students in the class. I saw former friends hurling insults at each other, fighting among themselves, and blaming each other. Then I also discovered that although Yuanji proposed that this exam was used to eliminate people who were useless to the class. However, in the end, there are still a minority of people who can think rationally. There are only about 15 people. And most of the students, those who felt that their popularity was bad and their evaluations in all aspects were not good, started to form cliques. It's probably like forming a team and canvassing votes. Don't let people in the same group vote for criticism or even vote for praise. Each person can fill in 3 names for appreciation votes, 3 names for criticism votes, and there is also a vote of appreciation for foreign students. The final vote is a vote of appreciation, a vote of criticism. So forming cliques is very useful. But after arriving at school today and sitting down, he immediately felt a sense of disobedience. That's why the tense atmosphere in the class where someone must drop out seemed to have disappeared all of a sudden. For lunch, what would you like to eat? By the way, there's a new waiter at the electrical appliance store. She's quite pretty. The students started talking and seemed to have recovered from before. At the same time, some students seemed to be looking towards him from time to time. In other words, it is indeed the case. An unlucky guy will appear in Class D of 1st grade. The tip-off message he received on his phone. It seems that a person who everyone hates was confirmed, and then that person became the candidate for this dropout vote. But Ayanokaji Kiyotaka was speechless. Because judging from the surrounding signs, so to speak, this unlucky guy who was chosen is actually him. The unlucky guy chosen is of course Ayanokaji-san. After Mr. Tsukijo had a big headache, he still taught Yamauchi how to avoid being expelled from school. But the requirement is to drop out one who looks harmless, for example, Ayanokaji Kiyotaka from your class. And now, in a very large group, everyone is required to be bold and not betray each other. If they betray, then the betrayer will be selected to be dropped out of school. And Ayanokaji Kiyotaka sent a message to Hirata-san who hadn't arrived at school yet. What big group? I still don't want to drop out. I'm asking Chibashira-sensei to lend me some points. And I'm in class A of the 3rd grade now. I'll see if I can consult with President Horikita. Ayanokaji-kun, don't be afraid, I will protect everyone. If I must quit, then I would like that person to be me. Hirata-san sent a message. Like the warm sun. And Hirata is indeed the Nuanyang of Class D. Gentleness shines on everyone. But it seems that the existence of this large group is hidden from Hirata. After all, Hirata doesn't seem like the kind of person who would allow his classmates to drop out of school. Ayanokaji thought in his mind. So I picked up my phone and found the previous text message. What do you want me to do? Ayanokaji Kiyotaka sent a message to the person who sent him. An unlucky guy will appear in Class D. Something you can do when you achieve something in the future. The other party was probably looking at his phone and responded quickly. Is it? Since it is a request, it is a two-way street. The transaction is now ready. I can agree to your request, but what I need is a peaceful campus life in the past 3 years. Ayanokaji-san is very perceptive. What the other party said was your achievements in the future, but he was now in Class D, and Class D was evaluated as a garbage dump. So if you believe that he can achieve something like this, then he is indeed someone who knows his identity. No problem, just wait 2 minutes. The other party's reply was very quick. While looking at the other party's message, Ayanokaji noticed that the cell phone of Horikita Suzun sitting next to her in the drawer seemed to be vibrating. She took out her phone and checked it. He frowned and then stood up. Ayanokaji. In other words, is this the reason why he was asked to wait for 2 minutes? Arranged Tillman to work. Ayanokaji also made a note of the other party's mobile phone number. Oreki Houtarou. Horikita Suzun, after receiving the message from Oreki-san, went to the podium. It's 10 minutes before the class meeting. There were nearly 30 students in a class of 40. Some students were not present. And her sudden move to the podium now made people care. Everyone looked over curiously. But there is no pressure for her. She stood alone on the other side of the podium. Until jingle bell. Every morning the time for the class meeting rang, and Teacher Chibashira arrived. Today, Teacher Chibashira is wearing high heels and looks quite tall. Chibashira also noticed Horikita's strange state. Chibashira-sensei, I have something to say about this additional exam, Horikita Suzun said. In other words, he wanted her to give up the podium. As before, Horikita-san still doesn't understand people's hearts. Because at least I have to tell her in advance. Oh. Then please. However, Chibashira-sensei did not refuse, so he walked to the back door on high heels, and then sat down at Horikita Suzun's seat. Horikita-san took away her podium, so it wouldn't be too much for her to sit in her seat. In this way, Chibashira stared at Horikita in front of him. Facing this cruel exam, how will Horikita react? Wow. And for Horikita-san's other neighbor, Sakura Eri, it's so scary. She buried her face in the book and read secretly. Feel nervous? Because, why is the head teacher sitting here? Chapter 172 You two have today, Horikita Suzun attacks Kushida. Because the podium belonging to the teacher was taken away, of course the head teacher is here. What's up? Chibashira also noticed that Sakura beside him looked like a cowardly little baby bird. No. Sakura became even more cowardly. Some students who were paying attention to this point sympathized with Sakura a little, and then focused their attention on the front. Because Horikita-san, what are you going to do about the additional class withdrawal exam that has already been determined? Nearly 30 students in the class have chosen to drop out of school, Ayanokaji Kiyotaka. They formed such large groups. But Horikita-san is not included in this list. In fact, it wasn't just her, not even Hirata. It would be better to say that everyone consciously avoided Hirata-san. Hirata-san likes this class very much and works hard for everyone. However, there is no other way to avoid having to vote last. And standing here on the podium. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 417. The voting test is the day after tomorrow, and I think we must have a class discussion, Horikita said. But some people don't like her. There is nothing to discuss about this kind of thing, let's just leave it to fate. Besides, there is physical education class after the class meeting, and we will have to play later, right, Chi? Yamauchi seemed like he didn't want to stay. Chi-Wu, who was picked up by Shinichi, was speechless. Now he will also be looked at by people in the class. However, that's it, but there is something bad inside Chi. Because he was also in that big group, he knew that everyone had decided to drop out Ayanokaji-san. So there is already an offering in the class. But now, is this going to be reversed? Going to play? You are obviously taking this kind of inhuman test, but you are still in the mood to play. Horikita glanced at Yamauchi with a stern look. You still don't know who will be expelled the day after tomorrow, and then you feel so comfortable now. Can I understand that you feel very safe? Do you feel that your academic ability, athletic ability, and contribution to the class can make you feel at ease? Horikita said. I don't think so. Being stared at by Horikita like this, Yamauchi looked away in panic. Hirata, who felt strange about the overly harmonious atmosphere in the class today, finally realized something was wrong. He remembered the message he received from Ayanokaji-san before returning to class. Could it be that? Are we actually doing something to hide him? But he's not stupid. Now Horikita-san is putting such a cruel thing on the stage. Obviously, he might say something that is absolutely detrimental to the harmony of this group. So he immediately said, please wait a moment, Horikita-kun, I think no one in this class should be expelled. I just went to class of the 3rd grade. I met the student council president, Hirata said. The resourceful student council president. The student council president, Horikita Manabu, is Horikita Suzun's older brother. Yes. If it were President Horikita, he might be able to see that glimmer of hope in this exam. But if you want to borrow points from the student council president, Horikita Suzun seemed to be a little frightened by her brother, but she pinched her left hand. Not swayed. Because she has grown up with the help of Oreki-san. No more chasing after my brother's back. So, she said, it's no use then. Not to mention that the 3rd graders are already graduating. The points at this time are already very precious. At the same time, they're graduating soon. Then it will be difficult to recover the 20 million owed, you think. And even if you want to use 20 million points to offset this dropout exam, what about the next time? What about the next time? The 20 million points will be divided equally among 40 students, each with 500,000 points. Not to mention continuing to spend money next time. The 500,000 points per person is not a price that everyone can afford. Horikita Suzun said. These few words directly expressed Hirata's thoughts. That is to say, the plan that Hirata-san came up with to deal with this additional exam is, to borrow points from those who have them. Then the whole class will pay it back. And this kind of thing. I don't want it, Gao Yuanji said. Because Hirata boy, you are off topic. Even if it is a ruthless withdrawal test, in theory the school should give more time for communication and more detailed rules, instead of simply requiring someone to drop out of each class without authorization. And Hirata boy, your suggestion almost deviates from the main point. This exam is to weed out the useless people. You are off topic. Yuanji said. Kakaharaji, Hirata quickly looked at the man who was holding a small mirror and looking at his peerless face. In fact, when he went to see President Horikita, he was also looking forward to getting the answer that would lead to the result. And the most conservative option is this. He has become the dog of the Itayanaga faction in Class A, in the hope that through this relationship, he can borrow points from Itayanaga-san or Oreki-san. Then pay it back slowly. Nature. He would definitely not be able to afford it by himself. Not to mention that after entering the society, you still need various consumption after working, so it is difficult to save money to repay. Even if you really have to pay it back, should it be 10 years or 20 years? So, the best solution is for the whole class to work together as one, and then everyone will bear the burden together. Because a large number is a big burden for one person, but if it is a lot of people, 40 students together, then it will not become that difficult. So this is his choice. It's not like a divided class like Yuanji's classmates. A person actually wants 500,000. I don't want it either. By the way, I don't have any points at all. Could it be that, Hirata-san wants us to save money from living expenses in the future? Obviously our current living expenses are not enough. However, after Juyunji's rejection, the students in the class also joined in the denial. After all, 500,000 per person. The school year is almost over now, and there are still 2 years of school left. Then it means paying back 250,000 a year, which means spending more than 20,000 points every month. But look at the class evaluation scores. The class evaluation score of the class is 582 points. But 320 points belong to Horikita-san, and 200 points belong to Takajanji-san. Although after the forest exam, I also received 400,000 monthly points from Class B, and then divided them up, everyone can get 10,000. But it's simply not enough. In other words, no one wants it. If you have to pay so many points, don't Takaharaji-san and Horikita have more points, someone said. They can use more. Generally speaking, it is difficult for other classes to say this, so it is this class after all. This is wrong, Gao Yuanji said again. Those points are earned by my hard work, and according to my evaluation, I can't spend my points like this. Yuanji Hirata looked at him. But Takaharaji continued to take out the mirror and look at his face. Because he cooperated almost enough and actively attracted a wave of firepower, he could rest now. Hirata's thoughts were like a dream. And worthless. He didn't agree. But Horikita girl stood directly on the podium, which meant that she was ready to sacrifice an unlucky guy. Therefore, Class D's exit exam has actually set the tone. Then his side must be safe. He thought so. Whether it is implemented or put into practice, Hirata-san, your plan is unreasonable. I don't think many students here would agree. So. And Horikita-san continued, Hirata-san, it has nothing to do with you now, please be quiet first. Quiet or something dash. No. But this was still unacceptable to Hirata. Horikita-san, wait a moment, I object to your actions that cause confusion to everyone. Will it make everyone confused? I think everyone is on the same page, Horikita-san said. We all force Ayanokaji-san to withdraw from school. Ayanokaji-san. At this moment, the boy who was sitting in his seat with a weak sense of presence was immediately surrounded. Chibashira also paid attention to him. I was a little dumbfounded, but I didn't expect that the person in the class who would choose to sacrifice would be him. Yes. The students in the class have no money, so naturally they cannot make a plan to save anyone. At the same time, even if you have money, there are probably many people who won't agree. Hirata consulted her and hoped to borrow money from her, but unfortunately, as the head teacher of Class D, she did not have much savings. Rather say. She also doesn't agree with spending so many points to protect a classmate. And you will do this, Hirata, do you want to protect your classmates, or do you want to achieve some kind of inner redemption? As a fierce man who had led Class D to climb mountains in the past, Chibashira thought about it. And this Ayanokaji was actually the person she wanted to entrust at first, and then entrusted to lead the class to fly upwards. As a result, he is now in trouble himself. So is Horikita's current action to save Ayanokaji, or is it the man behind Horikita? Does he need Ayanokaji Kiyotaka for anything? The homeroom teacher of Class D was already lost in his own thoughts, while Horikita-san was fulfilling her duties. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yet. Chapter 418. Most of the class formed one big group. Then we have the same goal of expelling Ayanokaji-san. And whoever leaks the information will become a betrayer, and the target of expulsion will be this betrayer, Horikita-san said. This is the content and covenant agreement within the larger group. For a moment, everyone was a little surprised. Because the requirement for joining a large group is that you cannot betray. Once you betray, you will be targeted. So, who revealed such inside information to Horikita-san? You know, Horikita-san is not in the big group. Then it means there must be a betrayer. So for a moment, there was some wavering. At this time, Horikita Susan looked at Yamauchi, who had started to make a fuss. I judge that in this special examination, Yamauchi Haruki should be expelled from school. Why is it me? Yamauchi didn't seem to expect that he would be attacked, and attacked in public. He stood up immediately. In terms of test scores, although I am not good, but in terms of physical fitness, this guy Kanji is worse than me. So why me and not Kanji? This is to defend myself. It fully corresponds to the concept of eliminating useless people that Takahiraji said and Horikita-san agrees with, so it is enough to show that he is needed. But can you hear what he said? His last sentence was that he wanted to play with Chi in physical education class. And now the good brothers are directly pulled out to be at the bottom. Yamauchi's actions are very ruthless and show off the plastic brothers to the fullest. Didn't you see that Chi was stunned? But most students remained almost silent. Because everyone doesn't know where to go now. Are we going to pursue the traitor in the big group and make him drop out of school? But Hirata already knew about forming a large group. Hirata will definitely object or try his best to stop it. Everyone felt uneasy. Some students looked at the little angel with short blonde hair sitting in the front row. Kushida Platikadon. Because it was Kushida-san who contacted them and appointed Ayanokaji-san, who had a low presence, to drop out. And now, is this big group formed by Kushida-san going to be instigated and abolished? But Kushida-san at this moment. Why did you drop out Yamauchi instead of Ike? Then I'll tell you the reason why I had to choose you. Horikita-san looked over with a cold look. Yamauchi took advantage of Kushida-san's gathering in order to get Ayanokaji-san to drop out. At least 30 negative votes were cast. With this kind of mentality, I don't think I can continue to stay in this class, Horikita said. What? The first one to react was still Hirata. He already felt bad when Horikita said that all the students were forced to drop out of school, and now Horikita has even revealed the mastermind behind the scenes. He glanced at the class. As the leader of the class, everyone's Hirata, why didn't he know such important information? However, most of the students looked away without touching his eyes. The facts are already there. What Horikita said is true. Everyone, as expected, are already ready to sacrifice a classmate. And people who can do this kind of thing. Hirata looked at Kushida. Is that so? Kushida-san, Hirata said. As for Kushida-san, although her cell phone is placed in the drawer, it has been vibrating since just now. Apparently, the large group of students were privately asking her what she was going to do. Will the big group be abolished or something like that? But obviously, the big group doesn't care anymore. Kushida-san has now been called out to attack. And it was still Horikita Suzune. Chapter 173 Kushida, I take all the blame and you still scold me. Kushida-san was attacked. Although Hirata is questioning her now, everyone knows that it was Horikita who exposed it first. It is revealed that Yamauchi found Kushida, and then asked Kushida to form a large group in order to protect Yamauchi, and then dropped out of school Ayanokaji Kiyotaka. But it wasn't me. Someone responded first. This is Yamauchi, who has been bombarded continuously, and now the canvassing matter has been directly exposed, and now Yamauchi is selected as the initiator of the canvassing. Yamauchi said quickly, it wasn't me. I didn't ask Kushida-chan. Yes, I heard from Kanji, I heard it from him, right. Obviously, before the opening of the physical education class, I had to play with Chi. But now they all turned into Quanji named Chi Quanji. Although they were so close, they completely and mercilessly dumped the blame on Quanji. Is this his brotherhood? Chi instantly felt sweat pouring down his forehead, because this was truly an unforeseen disaster. And now Yamauchi is throwing the pot over. He noticed all the students looking at him. The pool is under great pressure. He has no talent, his only skill is good camping ability, but he didn't show it well during the exam on the island. As a result, he seemed to be less popular in the class. At the same time, he also joined Kushida-san's group, and then considering that his friend Yamauchi was also in danger, he also pulled Yamauchi in. But, Yamauchi, how can you be like this, specifically trying to trick him? He is now very suspicious that if things are not handled properly, then he may have to take the blame for this major incident. Soichi quickly hesitated to express his denial. Although I pulled Yamauchi, I don't know who is behind the scenes. But his solution wasn't great either. Because he immediately betrayed Kushida. I was asked by Kushida-chan. It was her. She said that there was a person who was worried about being dropped out of school and asked me to vote for Ayanokaji. In this way. Moment. All eyes changed again. He turned to Kushida-san. Kushida, little angel. And Horikita-san even walked directly to her seat. Then look at her. Are you the mastermind? Kushida Horikita-san asked her without hesitation, as if he was trying to find out the truth. The whole class gathered together. The whole class's attention was focused. Even Yamauchi and Chi breathed a sigh of relief. But that sucks for Kushida. First, Kushida, who is like everyone's angel, makes such a move to solicit votes, which will undoubtedly lower her evaluation. But this is obviously what most people agree with, but now they all look at it. This is too much, everyone. Are you trying to make her take the blame? Because obviously agreeing to form a large group means that no one wants to be expelled. So everyone who joins actually has their own little thoughts. Look, everyone knows this, right? They were all invited by Kushida-chan. She invited me to expel Ayanokaji-sen from school at this time. Yamauchi continued to splash water without any emotional intelligence. It was as if he had found a life-saving straw. Yamauchi desperately tried to shift his focus. However, this makes no sense. Because compared to him, Kushida received much higher positive reviews. I did this because of Yamauchi-san's request. With so many people looking at him, Kushida-san immediately cried with regret. Big tears flowed down directly. As if she was the victim. Kushida-chan, how can you show such panic? Yamauchi was almost shocked. Because he really didn't ask Kushida-san. I didn't lie, Kushida cried. Because Mr. Yamauchi said that his situation was very dangerous and he would definitely be expelled from school. He was very scared, so he cried and begged me. I couldn't handle it for a while, so I agreed to his request. Then I asked everyone. Kushida-san looked pitiful. Then the truth was told. But why is this happening? Yamauchi was stunned. Because this is an unforeseen disaster. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yet. Chapter 419. He didn't do that at all. Why would Kushida-chan put the blame on him? People in the know looked at the fool Yamauchi with the eyes of a fool. But more importantly, I learned that it was Yamauchi who was behind the scenes. According to the current situation, if the plan is exposed, then Yamauchi will probably be the last person to vote. Because the fact of canvassing for votes cannot be brought to the table. To protect yourself. I think students like Yamauchi should not exist in our class. A girl suddenly stood up and said. I also think Yamauchi went too far. A boy also stood up. Yeah, how could Yamauchi do such a thing? I'm very angry, the boy said. Why? Yamauchi was about to vomit blood. How could these classmates slander him for nothing? Didn't you all agree to vote to criticize Ayanokaji? But now, you are saying such slanderous words. Yamauchi is going crazy. And like this, Kushida's crisis is almost over. The popularity she has accumulated in the class can allow her to quickly escape from being kicked. And her mission for the exit exam seems to have come to an end here. But Kushida-san. However, Horikita Susan forced herself to suppress the words of others and walked directly in front of the crying Kushida. Everything you did was a mistake. In this class, you have an influence that surpasses Kuruzawa and even Hirata, and with such power, if you make the wrong choice, you will lead a group of people to the wrong end. Then become the sinner of the class. Horikita Susan said coldly, once you call for counter votes to be gathered, things will become unstoppable and one-sided. So, do you really know that the greater the ability, the greater the responsibility? Horikita yelled at Kushida one after another, but Kushida just lay on the table and couldn't say a word. What you did was a mistake, Kushida-san. I hope you will think carefully about your mistake, and then think carefully about your approach next time, so as not to do anything unfavorable again. Horikita-san continued to criticize. Woo dash. All Kushida could respond was silent crying. Really miserable. Oreki-san stayed in the class, and it was the class meeting, but the strategy for Class A's exit exam was decided the first time. So the current class meeting is a self-study class. Then bumping the phone is not a big problem. Oreki-san has a chess piece in Class D. It could be Sakura-san, it could be Haruka, it could be Sato-san, and it could also be Kuruzawa-san. However, Sakura-san seemed to be too scared to touch her phone because teacher Chibashiro was sitting next to her. But Kuruzawa-san directly reported the situation at the scene. I have to say that from the perspective of doing things, Hui is indeed very strong. But Horikita-san is also quite interesting. Because Oreki gave her an order to help Ayanokaji and destroy the gang formation in Class D. However, she criticized Kushida a lot. But it's not hard to understand either. Although he was scolding, using this method and with the whole class watching, Kushida had no choice but to shut up and say nothing. It's like being sealed. And after Kushida is dealt with in this way, the focus will once again focus on Yamauchi. Speaking of which, I saw Yamauchi with students from Class A yesterday. Could it be that you are doing something to betray the class? It seems they hope to get votes of appreciation from the other class. Several students stood up and said. These are puppies bought by students from Class A. After getting the instruction, jump out and bite immediately. And this statement is obviously confusing right and wrong and deliberately discrediting Yamauchi. Because now almost everyone has discovered the direction of Class D's exit exam this time. Dropped out of school Yamauchi. And as long as Yamauchi is sure to drop out of school, it will be safe for everyone. Because this time the class voted to drop out of the exam, only one person was dropped out, right? Then everyone in the Sacrifice Mountain will be safe. Why do you say that? I have had dinner with an uncle at most, and he invited me steak. But he is not a student of Class A, Yamauchi said. How can you slander me? With uncle? Can I talk openly about eating with my uncle? In front of surveillance. The uncle maintained his usual calm. In fact, I feel quite bad. Contacting Haruki Yamauchi was his biggest failure this time. But in this case, the dropout from Class D is still Haruki Yamauchi. And if it is confirmed that Yamauchi will drop out of school, then naturally Ayanokaji Kiyotaka will become safe. Was it something Ayanokaji Kiyotaka secretly planned? Or someone wants to protect Ayanokaji Kiyotaka? The task assigned to him by that adult made him feel a little bit excited. And the other side. Class A is here. It seems that you have achieved what you wanted. Sakayanagi sent a message to Oreki. Oreki's Class D has puppies, and of course Itanyanagi also has puppies. So I received the report of the information. At the same time, as her neighbor, She also noticed that Oreki-san had been exchanging messages with Ayanokaji-san from the beginning. In other words, the transaction Oreki-san wanted has gone ahead. Almost Oreki-san sent a message to Sakayanagi. However, I am very tolerant. For the success of the transaction, I will give him a meeting gift. So saying, he also sent a message to Ayanokaji Kiyotaka. Give you a weapon. Weapons. Ayanokaji thought so. Suddenly. Boom. Suddenly a loud voice appeared in the class. Everyone looked over in shock. Because someone hammered the table hard. Even Chibashira-sensei looked there in astonishment. Because. That's Yasuke Hirata. The man who was always kind to others and had tried to persuade Seidu, but was beaten by Seidu and then didn't hold any grudge, got angry. Hirata suddenly stood up. It is simply wrong to induce peers to hurt each other in this way and force one person to drop out of school. In order to cope with this exam, he worked hard and tried every means, even trying to block the student council president, hoping that the student council president would give him guidance. He even did not hesitate to devote himself to becoming a class dog for the sake of the class. Result. It still became like this. When the class openly discussed the matter of isolating a certain student, Yasuke Hirata, who was a good old man and rejected the disunity of the class, was of course furious. Horikita-san, you are so wrong. Hirata got angry when he stood up. However, Horikita ignored him. Very simple. There is no need to list the loopholes in Hirata's words, everyone present is very clear about it. Inducing companions to harm each other? Horikita is hurting Yamauchi now. But after others were contacted by Kushida, they did not hesitate to join the group that participated in the Ayanokaji criticism vote. Everyone has their own thoughts. So, Hirata is the only one who doesn't know. Everyone hurts their peers. And now, Yamauchi, who attracts most of the hatred and blame points, is the one who needs to be eliminated the most. As long as Yamauchi takes the blame, everyone will be safe in this exam. This is the safest solution after forming a large group and being exposed. It can be said. Now, even for their own safety, no one does not want Yamauchi to be expelled from school. Therefore, it would be most stable if Yamauchi was expelled from school. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 420. But. Bump. Suddenly there was a loud sound in the classroom that was even more disturbing than before. It was a desk that was blown away by a strong force. And the direction of the sound was actually Hirata. The faces of the girl group who were attracted by the sound and paid attention had expressions of disbelief on their faces. Even Chibashira, who had been sitting around eating melon, showed a look of astonishment. Because it was Hirata who kicked the table away. Is this the man who is usually gentle, making people feel trustworthy? Shut up, Horikita. I want you to stop this stupid behavior. Hirata was completely shattered. The dangerous posture he displayed was something no one had ever seen before, and his tone was cold. The rights of class members are equal. We are not qualified to judge others. It is your fault that people are panicking now. Hirata's image suddenly collapsed, and he was also yelled at by the other party. Cold sweat appeared on Horikita's forehead, but after the experience of an angel like Kushida being a black man, she can still manage to calm down now. And it also has to be calm. No matter how Hirata targets her here, what he has to do now will not change. Hirata, you are just talking nonsense. Horikita calmly went to confront Hirata. Now the class has split into various groups, and more than 30 people have joined the alliance to vote for Ayanokaji. Is this unity? And even if you don't decide to drop out now, you will have to face the consequences the day after tomorrow. And the naive idea of hoping that no one will leave will only do the class a disservice. And if you, Hirata, continue to maintain your current hypocritical face, then Horikita held it with one hand, as if this could give her strength. Then there's nothing we can do about being enemies. Horikita made a formal declaration to the kind leaders of the class. Yamauchi was originally stunned to see Hirata's explosion, but when he saw Horikita actually trying to get rid of him, his classmates also accused and slandered him without hesitation. He held his head and asked Pingtian for help again. Pingtian, believe me, I was framed. It's all fake, I am the victim. Yamauchi said loudly. Victim, Hirata said, yes, that's it. Horikita-san, I will write your name on the voting form the day after tomorrow. You have created a situation that I don't want to see in this class. I don't want to. I'll forgive you. Although he was surprised by Hirata's collapse, Horikita-san knew that his mission had been completed. So, up to you. Horikita-san said this, looked directly at Hirata with firm determination, and then returned to his seat. Chibashira-sensei, who had just watched Horikita quarrel with others, quickly stood up. He returned his seat to Horikita-san. Meow meow meow. But now Horikita-san has returned to her seat, without Chibashira-sensei putting pressure on Sakura. But when Horikita-san, who had just insulted a lot of people, came back, Sakura-san subconsciously became a little timid. After all, Horikita-san is full of aura now. Ayanokaji. And Ayanokaji also understood. The weapon Oreki-san is talking about is Hirata after his collapse, so what he needs to do is probably to get in touch with the collapsed Hirata and become Hirata's intimate person. Then get the other party. And it takes time, but that's okay. Because the in-class voting withdrawal exam for Class D has ended, and the person who dropped out is Haruki Yamauchi. Chapter 174 The Final Mobilization, Voting Within the Class. This time the class voted to drop out of the exam. According to the rules, the first and last place need to be decided. And Class D, first grade, has already made an argument. Although Hirata, the representative of Class D, exploded, there weren't many things Hirata could do. At least, he didn't have the 20 million points that could offset the expulsion penalty. Therefore, Yamauchi was attacked from both sides. The dropouts for Class D's exit exam have been determined. It's Haruki Yamauchi. Other classes also began to make final preparations and mobilization. Only on the third day, when Oreki was about to teleport home from his dormitory, he found two followers behind him. To be precise, he is a student in Class C of the first grade. Ishizaki Daichi and Albert rushed to the door and found Oreki-san. Please save Ryuan, Ishizaki Daichi said. Long Yuan was selected as the candidate for expulsion this time. But, I think Class C cannot live without Ryuan. Ishizaki used to be the least interested in Ryuan when he first entered school. He even hoped to collude with other students in the class to get rid of Long Yuan. But after more than one semester, he has been impressed by Long Yuan, and even did some hard work spontaneously. For example, during the Kojima exam, he was arranged by Ryuan to sneak into Class D to obtain information about the leader of Class D. And to do that, the first thing you need to do is the bitter meat trick. In other words, injured. And he did it all. And now, just watching Ryuan fail and be expelled from school, he was unwilling to accept it. So come and ask for help. But first of all, if Ryuan is in your class, he will become a threat. And I'm a student in Class A. Isn't it a good thing to see a thorny opponent expelled from school? So it's weird that you guys came to visit me on your own initiative, Oreki-san said. Furthermore, the authority to vote out of Long Yuan belongs to the students in your class, so what you have to do is not to beg me, but to do a good job in the ideological work of the students in your own class. In other words, he didn't care about Long Yuan's intentions at all. At the same time, faced with Oreki-san's words, Ishizaki could not refute. Because whether from a business or personal perspective, Oreki-san really has no obligation to save Ryuan. So, what else can they do? So Ishizaki Daiichi took Albert and left a little defeated. Then the dropouts from Class C are also confirmed. It's Ryuan's show. And the time has arrived on the fourth day. Morning class meeting. Tomorrow is Friday. After the voting, the results of the exam will be announced 30 minutes later. After that comes the holidays. It seems pretty easy. But, after all, this is to eliminate the classmates who have worked hard for the entire school year. Whether it is being eliminated or writing the names of the eliminated people, everyone is not in a good mood. And now, this is probably the time for mobilization of each class. And now, first grade Class B is here. This is an additional exam. Although the head teacher also thinks it is very unreasonable, it is undeniable that we cannot refuse. So, what can be done is to abide by the rules of this exam. After all, after entering this school and relying on the school's rules, I got a good evaluation. Then I was exempted from tuition fees and even had living expenses. Then I was able to work hard towards Class A. Now at the podium, Itchy Nose, a girl with long golden and pink hair, was explaining. Then it can be regarded as a summary of the results of this exam. I can come to this class and work hard together. I don't think anyone in the class has to quit, and if I have to quit, then I would also like to be myself, Fanbo said. No, Itchy Nose. The classmates in the class quickly stopped her. However, there is still some luck this time. That's where the points we've been saving since we started school can come in handy. After this time, although the points will be cleared. But we can also ensure that no one will lose. With that said, she showed her student ID card. Name, Hanamai Itchy Nose. Class, Class B, 1st grade. Student ID, 100-861-0545. The private points on the student ID card are 21,236,000 points. Part of it is the points obtained by the preferential candidates after taking the exam, and part of it is the class fee that everyone usually sets aside every month. And according to Itchy Nose, part of it was after she was attacked by the rumor incident. She found the supplement for the mental damages demanded behind the scenes. Then the last part is the points that everyone gathered together in the past 2 days. Finally, 20 million was collected. 20 million can go to the class you want, and you can also be exempted from the penalty of dropping out once. So their plan for Class B to face the exam this time is to protect their companions. According to the school's rules, one student will be selected to get all the criticism votes, and then 20 million will be used to exempt the student from the penalty of expulsion. This is a plan that everyone is willing to accept. Otherwise, I wouldn't have participated in the point-gathering activities these 2 days. But at this time someone raised his hand.